Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another Battle to the Death for you. Today we have two relatively budget-priced knives, both in that sub 3.5 inch, barely sub 3.5 inch category. I think you're going to like this one. This is the Kizer Domin versus the Kershaw Concierge, both with foreign-y pronounced names. Another thing they're similar in. You're looking at $52 for the Kizer Vanguard Domin and $37.95 for the Kershaw Concierge. I really like both of these knives. This is not bashing on either one of these. Spoiler alert, there's going to be a pretty clear winner, but I still do like both of them. We'll get into that at the end when we get to the conclusions. Let's do some specs before we get too much farther, then I'll explain how these rules go. We'll start out with the Domin, or Domin. I'm pretty sure it's Domin. Some people say Domin, but I'm pretentious, so I will say Domin. Overall length of 8 inches, blade length of 3.46 inches. You have a blade thickness of 0.13 inches. You have a handle thickness of 0.46 and a weight of 3.75 ounces according to my scale. Next up, we will do the Concierge. I don't know which one of these has the more pretentious name. That's another category I probably should have added for this one. Overall length of 7.25 inches, so a bit shorter. Blade also a little bit shorter, 3.25 inches. You have a blade thickness, a bit thinner, 0.11 inches. You have a handle thickness, a bit thicker at 0.55 inches, and a weight of 4.3 ounces. This, by the way, is a Sienkiewicz design. If that matters to you, he does make some very cool stuff. This is designed by Azo, which is the Kizer kind of in-house guy. So one is a collaboration, one is not. All right, how this goes, we have 7 categories. We have design and aesthetics, quality, blade, ergonomics, deployment, carry, and value. And then we're going to add them all up at the end and get a score. You guys ready? Let's get going in our first category, design and aesthetics. This one was a pretty clear win. There's nothing wrong with the looks of the Domin. It looks fine. It does come in multiple colors, which the Concierge does not, which is cool. It comes in this blue. It comes in a black. It comes in a green, and it comes in like a coyote brown kind of thing. The only thing that disappoints me about that is the black is the one I would have gotten, except for the black you can only get with a bright orange backspacer, which I don't particularly care for. Also, same story with the green, only comes with a bright orange backspacer. Not really sure why they made that decision. The only way to get the black backspacer is to get the blue or the brown. I went with the blue. Not a bad looking knife, but the Concierge is just a really nice looking knife. I mean, it's a Sienkiewicz. He makes some pretty cool looking stuff. I love the look. We'll get into more about this recessed pocket clip, but it just looks really nice. The G10 looks really good. It's nicely, I like the finish they put on it. The blade shape looks good. I like that the hardware and the liners and stuff are all with this titanium nitride coating. Don't normally like coated blades, but it does really work on this particular knife. So have to give design and aesthetics pretty clear win to the Concierge. A lot of cool stuff going on with the Concierge for sure. Quality wise, also not a close category. Gonna have to say the Kizer. Kershaw's. I love some of the stuff they're doing now. This is not speed safe assisted. A lot of their Chinese stuff used to always be speed safe assisted. Yes, these are both made in China. Kershaw is a quasi-American company, but they're made in China. This one is fine. I have no quality issues with this particular example, but I do know some of the, it's not a hidden fact. Some of the Chinese Kershaws aren't that particularly consistent as far as quality goes. This one is absolutely perfect as a Kershaw gets, where the Kizer is just, I always know it's going to be fine. I've never had an issue with the Kizer, whether it be these Vanguard lower-end knives, their higher-end ones, or even the Tangrams, which are also owned by Kizer. I've never had a quality issue with those. You just know when you buy anything associated with Kizer, it's probably going to be pretty well put together. This one is excellently put together, no problems at all. It just feels like in your hand, it just feels like more of a quality piece. That's that inexplainable je ne sais quoi. I'm being pretentious in this. Wow, this is the most pretentious comparison I've ever done. But it's just that inexplainable feeling that it just feels like a more quality piece in your hand than the Concierge. The Concierge doesn't feel bad, and like I said, this one is perfect. But yeah, and I did just order this. They didn't know who they were sent it to or anything. I just bought one, so I didn't get like a perfect one. So I got good on this one. But it's I do know other people have had some issues. I haven't heard many with the Concierge in particular, but with other knives made in the same factory. So just from a confidence standpoint, I have to say the Kizer. I'd be much more confident in, if I had to place money on a bet, that the Kizer was going to come out of the box more perfect than the Kershaw is. Now, the blade. This one is Kershaw's biggest mistake and the biggest flaw of the Concierge, and the biggest flaw of all their recent Chinese stuff. I love they've gone to these KVT ball bearings and they're slowly phasing out the speed safe, it feels like. That's awesome. It is a nice hollow ground blade, very thin blade stock, 0.11, pretty thin behind the edge. I think it was 19 thousandths behind the edge, so not bad at all. Nice hollow grind, pretty slicey, but it is... Where's the mark on it? I don't know if it even has it on here. Oh, there it is. HCR 13 MLV. Wah, wah. This is a cheaper knife. It is $15 cheaper than the Kizer, which is VG10. But HCR 13 is, it's past its day. It's past its sell-by date. The nitride coating does help. You're not going to get any corrosion issues or anything. That's great. I love the blade shape of this. It is super slicey, but this is VG10. Also, not one of my favorite steels, but Kizer does a great job with it. This is even thinner behind the edge. I think I measured this at 18 thousandths. Blade stock is not dramatically thicker at just 0.13 inches, so not bad. And as I said, Kizer does a great job with their VG10. Nice stonewash coating on it. I find them as slicers to be very nearly equal, almost exactly the same. And this is VG10, and it's Kizer VG10, which is pretty good. Now, I will say Kershaw HCR is pretty good. It's in my opinion, in my experience, it's the best HCR you can get, but it's still just HCR. The coating helps, but now... Got to go with the VG10 on the Kizer, because Kizer does a great job with their VG10. I've had a lot of Kizer Vanguards. They've always held edges really well. And both of these, super easy to sharpen up. It's marginally easier, I guess, but not enough to change it. And as you can see, I think they did a little bit better job on the sharpening choil on this than they did on the Kershaw. This is a long explanation to say, for the blade, win to the Kizer. Ergonomics. Again, this is one of those categories where there's nothing wrong with the Domin. It's perfectly comfortable for my hands. You've plenty of real estate on here. It is a little bit longer knife, so you'd expect that. No real hot spots, but you know, no jimping to hold your finger on. I wish there was some jimping up here. I feel like this knife should have some jimping up there, but it's not bad. The G10, perfectly good mix of grippy and you know, enough, but not so bad it's going to tear your pockets up when you're taking it out of your pocket. But the ergonomics are fine. Nothing special to write home about. I really like the ergonomics on the Concierge. I love this recessed clip. It does wonders for ergonomics. It is very comfortable in the hand. It's just very good. Now, again, no jimping up here, but this coating does kind of give some traction. That's going to wear off after time, but at least when it's new, it is kind of sticky. I don't know how else to describe it, especially up here on top. Doesn't seem to affect it when you're cutting. It still seems to slice pretty well, but you do get, like a micron amount of traction up here. But it's just ergonomically, this just feels more comfortable in the hand. This is a shorter knife by a small amount, but you can still see I still have plenty of room. My hands are large size gloves. I do have skinny fingers though. Yeah, the ergonomics on this are just great. These are fine. This is great. It's really good ergonomically. Now, deployment. This is no contest. As I said, Kershaw's gotten rid of the speed safe. They've gone to their KVT ball bearings. This is still running on washers. It deploys fine. the thumb flicker, no flipper tab on this one. It deploys perfectly fine, but you know, it's never going to be remotely drop shutty. You really got to shake it shut. We're on the KVT. Rockets out every time. On this particular Concierge, they got the detent perfect. And you still got to shake it a little bit, but it's much more drop shutty than that. And as I said, just rockets out every time with no thought, no effort. It's actually pretty hard to foul. They've got the detent on it so good. Let me try to foul it here, see if I can do a bad one. No, I'm sure I could if I tried a million times, but that would be boring to watch. Great detent, running on ball bearings, deployments, absolutely goes to the Concierge. And lockup, I always do lockup on this too. They're both pretty much even here. You got a little thicker liners here. Now, carry. This one was a tough one because I love what they've done with this recessed pocket clip. It is a great idea. I really hope that it trickles up to the ZTs because, as you know, KAI owns Zero Tolerance also, that owns Kershaw. I hope this idea trickles up. This is a very cool, innovative thing. It works great. It's one downside, and it's not a big downside, and I didn't even mention it in the full review of this because it wasn't really a big deal, but when you compare it directly to another knife, you kind of notice it. This does put a lot of tension on your pocket. It slides in and out of the pocket pretty easy, slides in super easy. That was my biggest concern, was this recessed clip wouldn't catch your pocket. Nope, that works fine. Slides in and out super easy. But when you pull it out, there is a fair amount of tension on there. It's not going to like turn your pocket inside out or anything because everything's pretty smooth here, but it is quite a bit of tension on there. And you have a flipper tab sticking out when it's in your pocket, which you don't on the Domin. As far as their depth of carry, the Domin's a little shallower, but not really enough to matter. It's not really that. It's more just the tension pulling it out. No pocket clip on this. No pocket clip. Of course they have pocket clips. No flipper tab on this. So it's easier to get stuff in and out of your pocket. You don't have this little pecker coming out and grabbing anything. And the weight on this, if they would have relieved the liners, this is 4.3 ounces. I don't know why this liner isn't drilled out. I really don't get it. It doesn't cost much to do that, and it would have made it probably the same weight as this. You're looking at more than half an ounce difference in weight. That's getting to the point where you might notice it. When you're talking, a tenth of an ounce, 0.2 of an ounce, you're not going to notice it. But yeah, let me look. Yeah, the weights here again. You're looking at, about half an ounce difference. I want to make sure I was right on that. So you're going to notice that. That's enough to notice. So carry-wise, I'm going to say a narrow victory to the Domin, but I'm going to give it to the Domin. I said Domin now. They've got me doing it. It's Domin, damn it. Now, last category. So far, we're at a 3-3 tie if you're keeping score at home, which if you are, God, get another hobby. But the final category, the tiebreaker, value, gotta say Kizer Domin. You're getting a better steel, much more likelihood of getting a perfect knife out of the box than you are from the Chinese Kershaws, unfortunately. They're getting better, but it's still, I know I've had a couple, 3 this year. I haven't had any major issues, but I've had small issues with at least one of the 3. So not enough to send it back, but stuff I had to fix as soon as I got it. So yeah, I gotta say value-wise to the Kizer. Even though I will say Kershaw's warranty is outstanding. So if you do have an issue, you got to send it back. They're going to send you a new knife. They're going to fix it, whatever. You don't have to worry about it. But the likelihood that you're going to have to send it back is probably more likely with the Kershaw than it is with the Kizer at this particular moment. The Kizer is going to be much more difficult to get a replacement, but you're probably not going to have to, where the Kershaw, you're probably going to have to. Not probably going to have to, but you might have to. So I got to say value, even though it's more expensive. It's not that much more. It's $15. I gotta say value. I think the Kizer Domin's a little bit better value. Also, little things like the packaging. The Kershaw, you get a plain box. This, you get a nice little package with cleaning cloth, all that kind of stuff. I think you just get more bells and whistles that make it worth the $15 for the Domin. So where does that leave us? that leaves us with a 4-3 victory for the Kizer Domin. Now, that said, which one of these do I carry the most often? I carry the Concierge most often because I just like the ergonomics. I like the look of it. I don't carry it when I'm planning on doing anything super heavy duty, so I don't care about the HCR. So, yeah, I carry this more often, and I will say, all that Kershaw has to do, if this was 14C28N with the same price as the Domin, if it was $52 and 14C28N, which is perfectly plausible, I think, price-wise, because there's companies making $30 knives for 14C28N. Some of them made in the same factory as this, so I don't see why they don't do that. If it was 14C28N, $52, this would be, I rescored it, 5-2 win for the Concierge. It wouldn't even be close. I would much prefer the Concierge if it was just one bump up in steel and the quality was just a little bit better, which I think they could do, or more consistent, which I think they could do by increasing the price. So this is another one of those examples of where Kershaw swung for the bottom and missed. And I love the Concierge. It may make one of my best budget knives of the year because I do love so much about it, but that steel and the somewhat inconsistent qualities, I can't give it a win against. This one is almost definitely going to make, I'm sure it's going to make one of my best budget knives of the year. So both of these, what I'm saying, are pretty good. I do carry this more often than this, but objectively, the Kizer Domin's a better knife. So I hope that long explanation makes some sort of sense to you. It does to me in my mind, but you don't want to go in there. So hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.